Green Room on Air. Green Room on Air. The podcast that takes you beyond the velvet curtains and into the pulsating heart of the entertainment world.
Hello, everybody. You have reached Green Room on Air. And this is Ray Renati, your host. And this is my little spot in the corner of the various internets. How y'all doing? I hope you're doing well. I'm back from Europe, where I was visiting France, Portugal, and Spain. España. What a lovely place Portugal is, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But today, I want to let you know that we have a great guest. His name is Jinkx T. Lane, and he is a Broadway star. I love having Broadway stars on the show. I really do. Now, if you're new to the Green Room, what we do here is we get behind the scenes in the world of entertainment. And very often I talk to the movers and shakers in the world of entertainment here in the San Francisco Bay Area. People who are actors on the stage, dancers, circus performers, cabaret performers, jugglers, all kinds of people. But we also talk to people all over the world. And as I said, today we have a very special Broadway performer, actor, singer, dancer, triple threat, Jinkx T. Lane. So I got back from Europe. Loved it there. My wife and I traveled all through Portugal, and we did a little stint in Spain, in Cordoba. All it does is remind me of Ricardo Montalban, when he used to have those commercials for the Chrysler Cordova. What was it? What was this? What was the tagline? The Cordova. I can't remember. Anyway, Ricardo Montalban. Yeah. So, but apparently it's pronounced Cordoba, and they have this castle there. Well, actually, it's a mosque. And somewhere in the 14th century or the 15th century, it became a place where Jews, Christians, and Muslims could all worship together. Yes, I'm not kidding you. And inside, it looks like a mosque, and they have all this Christian stuff from the Catholic Church. I didn't see any Jewish stuff. Pretty much the Catholic Church has taken it over, and there was some king after this happened a couple hundred years later who made sure that the Muslims were kicked out, and then he regretted it. But anyway, there was a time, hundreds and hundreds of years ago, when everyone got along, as Rodney King wanted us to do. Why can't we do that now? Why not, I ask you? Must we be fighting? We are all, apparently, well, if you worship God, it's all the same God. The biblical God is the God of the Old Testament, the New Testament, and the Quran, folks. Now, I don't worship any of them anymore. Used to be Catholic, but now that's pretty much, I don't want to get into that. Anyway, folks, our guest today is Jinkx T. Lane. And James was born and raised in Philadelphia, PA, and he's left an indelible mark on both the West End and the Broadway stages. If you're a big Broadway aficionado, you may have recognized him from the remarkable Broadway productions of The Scottsboro Boys, The Chorus Line, and Kiss Me Kate. Also, he was in Chicago, where he played Billy Flynn just earlier this year. My friend James Monroe Iglehart played Billy Flynn at the same time last year. I asked him if he knew him. They just know each other professionally. But anyway, maybe James will be on the show one day soon, I hope. Although he's a huge star now, so it's hard to get. Even if you have friends, when you have friends who become big stars, everything gets taken over by their publicists and their agents and stuff. So if you talk to them, they're like, and you want them to like be on your show or something, you gotta you got to go through their publicist and their agent, and then they tell the star if it's going to happen. It's whacked. It's whacked. But anyway, I'm so glad that James was on the show today. He was wonderful. Once in a while, you have a guest that it's just so easy to talk to them. It just flows. He's so positive, upbeat, super talented guy. I watched some of his videos. Really, really great on YouTube. You can check it out. Just search on James T. Lane or go to his website, jamestlane.com. I'll put a link in the notes. And check him out, man. And the thing is, he's got a new show now out. It's a one-man show called Triple Threat. It's a play that moves and sings. It's one man sharing a story of big dreams in the arts in the course of events that occur after a life-changing injury. It's a tour de force performance in the style of John Leguizamo, Lily Tomlin, Billy Crystal, and the magnificent Whoopi Goldberg. And now, without any further ado, I bring you James T. Lane. Hey, well, it's so great to have you on here, James.
Thanks, Ray.
Yeah, and I think that we might have a friend in common. James Monroe Aguilar's a friend of mine.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I just know him professionally. I don't know him personally.
Oh, okay. And I think you played the same role in Chicago as him recently.
Yes.
Billy Flynn.
Billy Flynn, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you did it this year, and I think he did it last year.
Yeah.
So they're cycling people through.
Well, I mean, I think you can safely say that, being 26 years in, that they cycle people through.
Yeah, I guess they're going to have to, right?
Yeah. That's
like a 90-year-old guy up there playing Billy Flynn.
although close, I can't remember who was the guy. He must have been in his 70s at the time. He played, he's an old, like a matinee movie idol, but he must have been in his 70s. Richard
Gere?
No, not Richard Gere.
Oh.
From the stage. I'll have to think of his name, but.
Oh, okay.
But
yeah. So, you have a new show called Triple Threat. It opened, a couple days ago?
We opened for previews June 17th. Yeah.
All right. And what motivated you to start this now?
Well, a few things. I mean, I started writing it in 2015, so that just gives you an idea of how long these things kind of can take getting to New York City.
Yeah.
But a few reasons kind of like moved me to kind of a term I've been using is I call creative responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing was I was looking at the landscape of Broadway, and I was looking around, and if I wasn't the genie like James Monroe Aguilar, or if I wasn't a founding father in Hamilton, or if I wasn't Simba or Mufasa in The Lion King, where was I going to go where the rules were kind of like built for me in mind? And when I say built for me in mind, I don't necessarily mean culturally, because, Simba's a lion, and the founding fathers, they're not from my culture, or, and the genie, he's the genie, but
he's from no one's culture.
He's from no one's culture. He's doing his own thing out there. But I looked around and I said, if I really want to be who I am and where can I go? Where's the work? Mm-hmm. So there was that kind of need to create that was really boiling inside of me. And someone, when I was working in London, they said, if you were to write, what would you write? And I just started writing about my own experience as, a drug addict and an alcoholic. And they were looking at the pages. This was David Land from the Young Vic in London. And he looked at, you read what I wrote, and he said, this is you? I don't even, that's not the person that I see in front of me. And I just kept on writing, and here we are.
Wonderful. Gosh, I mean, I love it when people take the bull by the horns and create their own reality in
Mhm.
theater and live theater. Um,
Yeah.
like you say, we can't all be the genie, and we can't all be in Hamilton. But
Right, and if you don't see a space, you can that agency or that need, you can kind of, create the space.
yeah, yeah. So can you share some of the pivotal moments that and experiences that shaped uh, your performance today in Triple Threat? I know
Well, I
you
have
thought you were talking about some pretty heavy stuff there.
Yeah, well, first I've got to say that I played like up to 20 characters in the show, right? And we start basically and end the show with my mother. A mother's love is like none other. She didn't throw me out at my darkest moments. And it's a love letter to that kind of love, that spirit, but so we deal a lot with a mother's love and a mother's love of her son and vice versa. But you know, we talk a lot about education and you know, feeling the pressures of being a Black gay man in the performing arts, and how you are relegated to one set of kind of ideas of who you are when that's not necessarily who you are. And you're shoehorned into this kind of way of acting, and then trying to find your own way is very hard. And most people don't find their own way, or they leave the business and transition out because of the pressure. What other themes are in the show? It's about being a singer, dancer, and an actor. But there's obviously more to what a triple threat is. So you'll have to come and see what that is. But but there's the blood or the kind of like the the what links everything together is movement. So like I say the blood of the play is dance, and all of the characters, there's a melody in how they speak as well as I'm singing, but there's a melody in how they speak. So there's all different kinds of voices in singing, and then the characters are the acting. So it starts from elementary school and it takes us all the way up through to the present.
Oh, wonderful. And how did you approach learning 20 different characters and making them distinct and real for the audience as 20 separate entities? How did you
Well,
do that?
that's a good question. Well, so we use so like I literally play lots of characters, but we also have projections in which I've filmed myself playing characters, and then we also have voiceover, which I am characters in voiceover. But that's a really good question, Ray. I think you always have to have a key into the character. So you find out what the key is, like what your personal key is, like is it the way? And my personal key, because I was like my first language was dance. So how I find my way into character is a movement, so as long as I get in touch with the movement of that person, I'm able to go into that room of the character and play in that room,
Okay.
if that makes any sense,
It
right?
does, yeah. Yeah. I mean, to me,
Yeah.
what it says is, you with your background, your training in dance and movement, that's the thing. That's the anchor that's going to help you find those differences between the different people. Um, and, as performers, we take classes, we learn different ways of doing things, but we all sort of have to find our own technique ultimately and
Hmm. Hmm.
use whatever our strengths are to create characters, to create situations and stories. And
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I loved like, it was my first love was dance.
Hmm.
So that is the first thing that comes to me
Yeah.
easily. And it always tells me so much about a person. Even I'm looking, on 42nd Street and just looking at the street, it tells me when I see a person walking, it tells me so much about them because I love movement,
Yeah.
and there's so many different things you can do to riff off of that particular movement of that person.
Right, right. Are you actually looking at 42nd Street right now?
Yeah, I'm here in my I'm here in my dressing room, and it seemed like I was running some errands, and I said, "Oh, I know I can go right in my dressing room and do this call with you."
And you can see it out the window?
Yeah, I'm right on
Gosh,
40. I'm 42nd Street and Ninth. It's kind of fabulous.
that's great. You know,
Yeah,
we have a theater company here in San Francisco called 42nd Street Moon. And
really.
yeah, I've done a few shows there, and yeah, that's what it's called. And they do, but well, it's kind of changed, but mostly what their edict was the beginning was doing like lost Broadway shows. Yeah, it
Oh,
was a lot
cool,
of fun.
cool.
Yeah,
Oh
but
yeah,
they
we
don't.
we
That's not
have
what they do anymore. They do a lot of popular stuff.
okay. We
Yeah.
have a program here called Encores, and they do kind of like obscure, Broadway shows that were lost before too.
Yes.
I've
Yes,
done
I've heard of
two
that.
shows.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done two
Yeah, like we
shows.
did silk stockings and nymph errant and all kinds of stuff like that. Um. Anyway.
What's
Um.
interesting also, Ray, I just tell you about this. It's funny. So 42nd Street, as we know, has changed a lot in
Yeah.
in in the years. And when I was here in the late 1990s, where this theater is, I'm at Theater Row from Ninth Avenue down towards the river, 10th, 11th, and 12th. It got really, really bad. Like, and this was the area in which I used to get high in. So it is so cool to be doing this show on 42nd Street in the area in which I used to like, you know, kind of like score and stuff on. So it's like what a world that you can kind of like, create something and the very thing that got you here, got you there on the street, got you here in this theater. It's the American dream.
What an incredible journey you've had. So
Yeah.
you somehow ended up getting involved in drugs and alcohol. You
Hmm.
pulled yourself out of it, and now you're performing again on Broadway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Really,
Yeah. It's something else.
congratulations. That takes some serious fortitude.
Yeah, and that, as I'm sure you've heard this before, it's like, not only is it hard, releasing, getting that monkey off your back, but you still have to deal with the monkey inside your head, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's where the disease of alcoholism or the disease of addiction lies after the physical stuff is gone. It's the thing in your head, the disease that you always carry.
Yeah.
So that's the real day-to-day kind of work of keeping that in check.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll share with you. I mean, I was dependent on benzodiazepines for 18 years, and
Hmm.
similar to alcohol. I mean, it was a doctor thing, but I
Hmm.
ended up
Hmm.
totally addicted, and it took me 3 years to get off of it.
Wow, good for
I
you.
know exactly what you're saying. I mean, because I still have to deal with that every day. I mean, people think you're done, and no, you're not done because all
No.
that time you were on the drugs. There's like subtle or overt personality changes and stuff that you're not doing anymore. And then when you're not on it anymore, you forget. Your mind just doesn't know how to do that. Regulate emotions, deal with people, handle changes. Stuff like that.
Hmm.
Yeah, but it does give you a lot of insight, though. I think into life and gives you a lot of empathy,
Oh,
possibly.
empathy, compassion. Ray, I was just sharing this last night. I got on the subway, and New York City subways, there are lots of folks that are going through lots of stuff, homeless people and addicted people, and I just get on the subway and sit down, and it doesn't, and the guy, stretched, full out on one of the things across from me, just twisting and turning and changing, and I know what that is. Like, I know, and I kind of looked over to my right, and I could see people shaking their heads and stuff like that. And it's just like, when you don't know what that is, it's easier to judge,
So
right?
easy. Yeah.
It's so easy. It's like, oh, just get yourself together or something like that. But like, I'm looking across at this gentleman, and like, that's my people. Like, I know
Yeah.
what that is,
Yeah.
and I know it's more than meets the eye. It's not just a kind of flick of the switch and I can just get my life together. So
And also, I think people don't realize the incredible humanity that is there before him. Like look at you. I mean, you're this amazingly talented artist, and somehow you ended up there, right? And the
right.
people see you laying there, and they get to think that you're just a lazy sack who never did anything
Hmm.
with his life. And that's almost never the case with any of these people. If
Absolutely.
you talk to them, you find out what incredible human beings they are. And most of them are super smart, and have
Hmm.
a lot of them have done some incredible stuff in their lives.
Hmm. Hmm.
And somehow,
Yeah.
for whatever reason, they ended up having this struggle. But yeah. So I assume that your show covers some of that stuff.
Oh, absolutely,
Triple
absolutely.
threat.
A cover a recurring theme is like, people like me. Like, it wasn't supposed to happen to people like me. Like, I mean, I got out, Ray. I got out. I got out of the projects. I had full scholarships to the best schools. I had great guidance and teachers, and it still happened to me.
Yeah.
Like, and it's something to get out and then fall back and then get out again, right?
Yeah.
Like that's, most of, as most people don't get here. Most people don't recover. It's a rare thing. And so I do not, to the best of my ability, a day at a time, do not take it for granted, that I've gotten out. But like we said, it takes work, man.
Did you have people that helped you?
Absolutely. It's funny. I totally fell in love, like, and that was the first like thing that got me out. Like, I didn't want to lose the relationship, right?
Yeah.
And but what was interesting is, like, early on in that relationship, he helped me get out in terms of, like, I didn't want to lose it, but then I quickly found out after he cheated that it couldn't be about him. It had to be about me. But
Yeah.
it was the thing that got me to kind of commit. And so he was there in the beginning, and then I got really close to a group of people in Philadelphia, and that helped me, in recovery. And we were this little band of people going to meetings together, and just getting, you know, settled back. I remember, it's funny, it was like the call went out. It was like the bat call went out that James was doing better. And my I got myself together November 16th of 2004. That's my date. And January, I get this call from an old stage manager friend of mine that said, "Hey, I heard you got it together. There's this audition. I was living in Philadelphia. That's where I'm from. There's this audition for the Opera Company of Philadelphia. Do you want to go? They're looking for a dancer." And I was like, I hadn't danced in like 2 years, Ray. I had like the cookie belly and the cookie butt. And like, I'm gonna do it. So the audition was at 7 o'clock. They were looking for an immediate replacement for the show. The audition was 20 minutes long. It was to dance in the chorus, and and then by 7:30, I was back in the business. So it was like,
Wow.
oh, and I literally felt like I was dancing for my life. So,
Yeah.
and it felt like that. In 3 months sober, and it was just crazy. But lots and lots of help, loving people, and then there were the people who were like, love to remind you of what happened, love to remind you. So you do you do some work in the program, and then you end up reminding them that you're no longer that person or doing those things.
Yeah.
So then the conversation changes inside your own head. It's like, oh yeah, that's right. I'm not doing those things anymore day at a time. And you can keep those thoughts back there, but I don't have to keep them because I've done the work around that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's the key is to have a lot of good help, because when I was in the community of people trying to get off these drugs, I mean, the people I noticed that had the hardest time are the ones who were living by themselves, and they had no
Mhm.
family, no friends. They couldn't get a doctor to help them. They couldn't find, and that's just
Yeah.
brutal, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's brutal. I mean, the disease is so isolating, right?
Hmm.
Like it's so you can't save yourself from yourself. Like
Yeah.
you gotta you it's a bridge back to life. You gotta get into the life of it. And we do this together. Like we do it together. Life,
Yeah.
we live in a system. We're all a part of the system. So if you're still kind of doing the same thing that you did when you were drinking and using,
Mhm.
then it's more of the same. It feels the same.
Right. Now in your show, I'm really curious. It sounds like you're doing a multimedia kind of thing, which I
Hmm.
love. Without giving, spoilers and spoiling the show for people, can you share anything about that?
Well, we've got some characters, man, because as you can imagine, it gets kind of wild out there in the life of drinking and partying and touring and the people you meet. So, I would say that, I've traveled a lot. So that there are planes, trains, and automobiles, so that's where technology comes in, and what was interesting is like um so many people were like the voices were like a lot of being in the performing arts is waiting for the phone to ring, right?
Yeah.
Waiting for that phone to ring. So
Yeah.
I had to have that element of like the phone, the answering machines, the voicemail. So that technology is a part of what we do. But it harkens back to like I love like Lily Tomlin
Oh yeah.
and Whoopi Goldberg and John Leguizamo, and they're storytellers. So the stage is bare, and there's just a few props, and we use projections to kind of like I play against the projections, and but I also do this wonderful thing that we call tangos, in which I play the characters on stage. And so we're having a lot of fun that we're using those elements and playing with the characters.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Did you ever see Lily do a Search for Intelligent Life in the Universe?
Yes, that's what I
Yeah.
saw.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other one that she did when she was on stage, and I think it was in Los Angeles. I can't remember the name of it, but she had like a door, she had like a door closing off stage, and like it was just so like 1940s radio hour. And I just
Yeah.
love that because so much is in the imagination of the audience,
Hmm.
and that's the journey. It's happening in your mind anyway. So I'm using that as a tool also. I don't change costumes or anything like that. It's fun.
Yeah. So that means you really have to be clear and precise about your characters,
Very
which I
specific.
love. I mean, I love specificity like that, and seeing an actor do that just gets me going. So you're the only one in the show. It's just one person. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great. Wonderful. Um, Now I know Nicole said we want to save your voice, so I want to be respectful of that. You only wanted to go about a half hour.
Thank you very much.
And I think we're at that. Um, but was there anything else you want to? I'm gonna put notes, where people can get tickets and all in the notes. Is there anything else you want to say about the show Triple Threat?
Well, I just want to say that you know, authentic storytelling, and what I mean by that is that you know, and I'm an African American man, and a lot of the stories told about African Americans um, have been told, particularly around urban environments, have been told by people who haven't lived them. They've been kind of made up or kind of like sold for profit, but written by people who didn't live that experience. So come see Triple Threat because it's about a person who was actually there and
Mhm.
lived the experience of being a Black gay performer in the performing arts. So the story is authentically my own, and I'm actually the one telling it. So come and see it.
Thank you so much, James.
My pleasure.
Well, my friends, thank you so much for listening. I really enjoyed speaking with Mr. James T. Lane of Broadway fame. What a great guy he is. What a story. I hope I can go see his show. We'll try to get out to New York. Right now, I got to finish packing for Yosemite. My friend and I, Chris Good from high school, we're going to climb to the top of Half Dome. Not climb on the face. We're going to go the back way and pull ourselves up the cable. So if you've ever done that, it's one of the hardest hikes apparently in the United States. And for a man in his 60s, I got to keep doing it. My goal is I'm going to keep doing this every year until I can't do it. My wife doesn't know that, but hey, you only live once. So I got to pack. Anyway, thanks so much for listening. If you like this show, please tell your friends. Give me a rating on Apple Podcasts. It really helps a lot, or anywhere. And you can find this on any of the podcasting platforms. Shoot me an email at rayrenati@gmail.com or greenroomonair@gmail.com. And I will get back to you. And until next time, I will see you on the boards. Take care. Love one another. Alrighty. Bye-bye.